Thank you, Cory. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. We're located on the land of the Eastern Cherokee and Southern Iroquois, and it's good to be here with you. I'm Crain. I'm a member of the Worship Associate team here. I'm also on the board, and I am also going to be presenting Reverend Jean Heriot. She has COVID, and so we're going to see her here, and I think this also has COVID. So if you guys over here want to move over here, because Jean's sermon will happen on this side. Feel free to decide when the screen comes up what you want to do. So we apologize for that inconvenience. For those of you at home and in the back room, things will be as they typically are. So whoever you are on your life journey, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, wherever you were born, whatever language you speak, you are welcome here. We are so glad that you chose our fellowship as your place to be this morning. We come together for worship in order to slow down a little bit and listen for the callings of our hearts and our spirits. We come together for worship so that we can be reminded of our highest aspirations and continue to transform ourselves into our best selves. If you're joining us for the first time this morning, welcome. If you are a visitor and wouldn't mind if you would stand up and introduce yourself, that would be great. Jorge's not a visitor. Okay. Looks like all of us are here who have been here before. Hospitality will be offered back in the social room, so please join us there. And if you're interested in getting our weekly newsletter so you can get connected to our community, our weekly sharing of joys and concerns, and our collective efforts to support local social justice, please reach out to our office at UUFC.org. Let me point out a few announcements on the back of your bulletin. So RE registration, religious education for the children, will begin next week, and classes will resume on September 1st. At the end of the month, we're going to start a 5th Sunday practice that the Social Action will host a potluck lunch, and we will be talking about social issues. I've heard the name Reba Cruz several times through my husband Gordon's work, working on the consideration about book banning, curriculum, and library issues. That should be a lively talk. I hope that you will be able to come. So speaking of social action, Holly Ulbrich will be in the library. She's not there now, but she will be there after the service. If you would like to collect some door hangings that you might want to pass out for voting in your neighborhood, and she'll have stamps and postcards too. So join Holly in the library after the service on the right in the hallway. Socratic Cafe, second Sunday, and you'll see other things that are ongoing. I want to point out the volunteer part at the top of the order of service. There's not a volunteer at the welcome table today. It's because it's a volunteer and there wasn't one available. There is for hospitality, thank you to the Chen family, and the tellers, Petra. I thought I was a teller today. And the virtual worship facilitator, Elizabeth, is helping out the folks at home who are streaming if there are concerns. I want to point out the safety responder and just do a very quick update on what that relatively new task is. It's empty today. There is no safety responder today. And what that person does is that person is our point person in case an ambulance needs to be called for somebody, and then that person will watch for the ambulance in case there are weather concerns, in case there's a fire. Was anybody here during our fire drill a couple of years ago? It's time for another one, and this one will not be announced. But I'll tell you, it's not going to be today. So we're looking for more people to be point persons. If you are interested in doing that and want to be our point person, our safety responder person, that would be maybe once every couple of months. And I have something to show you. This is brand new. Still has the price tag on it. And this is how you will know, starting next week, who our safety responder is. So if you are sitting here and you see something out the window and you think somebody needs to know that, you will look for this. I don't know if you realize that our ushers, who today are Petra and Marty Bear, our ushers lock the doors about 10 minutes after our service begins. That's a part of our safety practice here. We are easily able to get out, but in order to get in after the service starts, that's largely what I have done as a safety responder, is I sit out there because I like it outside, and I will let in the late people. The ushers, of course, watch for that too. So if you're interested in that, talk to Karen, talk to me. We will tell you about how that works.
A correction, it's not listed on the bulletin today, but Chin Fu, our new member, was at the welcome.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Chin Fu, you are doing hospitality and the welcome? See? That's what volunteering is all about. The more you volunteer, the happier you are. Chin, right? Thank you, Nancy. The more you volunteer, the happier you are. So thank you. Let's sing. Number 347, Gather the Spirit.
Spirit
Thank you. Be seated. The opening words, as Reverend Dr. Jean Heriot provided, come from Hope by Jennifer Pratt Walter. See, oh, by the way, you may want to do some hand signals. See what you think as you hear this. See how the winds have shaped her hands to hold hope. So tenuous, it trembles like a hummingbird's heart. She gently carries the host to a nest in the midst of the maelstrom and tilts it into a bowl of tiny feathers and mosses. Hope is so hard to cup. She might need your help when it seeps through the cracks of her fingers. Place your hands like this around hers. Together it can be done. When it hatches, when the nest is no more, watch the wind pick up hope and lay it softly into the welcome of appraised palms. Join me, please, in the chalice lighting and words of affirmation found in your bulletin. We gather together with justice as our heart. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and freedom, and to care for one another. Thank you.
This morning's story is an outgrowth of a particular social and political movement in the United States, but I would ask you to look a little deeper into the story for the underlying message. This morning's story is Hope in My Fist by Rayshon Young and Ivory L. Kennedy III. I raise my fist high to the sky. One day I'll be able to fly. Because with this fist, I can make others proud to know a kid like me could be so loud. Black Lives Matter, I shout with my mommy and daddy. I left my first protest, but not everyone was happy. I ask Mom and Dad, why could this be? Ivory, Mom says, because some may disagree. Disagree, I ask. Did we do something wrong? We did nothing wrong, Mom says, but history has shown us not everyone has learned how to get along. It's a movement, and not everyone has agreed because of the color of our skin. Let that motivate you to love yourself from within. Is it because of the color of my skin? Well, that's not fair. Agreed, sighed Mom, so we continue to lead. I can't breathe. Remember watching that on TV? It's hard to believe, but it's a part of our history. Not everyone can feel the pain they cause. Even some police have flaws. Aren't the police supposed to protect us, I ask? Yes, they are, and the majority of them do, and that's a plus, says Mom. We must come together to help one another, not looking at one another as lesser than the other. There were laws put in place that we need to embrace, so little ones like you know you can't be erased. So when you're outside and you decide to raise it high, don't let anyone make you feel like a bad guy. You are melanated, and some may treat you differently. What does that mean, I ask. It means sometimes you may feel alienated. Feeling confused, I ask, alienated? Am I an alien? Mom laughs. No, you are not an alien, but you are different and far more than just your skin. When I look at you, I see endless possibilities. You can be anything you want because you have the ability. That fist of yours holds lots of power, as Mom raises her fist. Maybe talk to your dad. He loves history. I'm sure he'll be glad. Hey, Dad, I have a question. Dad smiles. And what could that be, Ivory? I ask, why are some people unfair to people like you and me? There once was a man with a dream who would probably be sad with the things you've seen. He wanted everyone to be kind and join hands in unity. He felt that everyone should have an equal opportunity. Even as young as you, this little one knew she could not stand for something untrue. Her name was Ruby Bridges, and she had a lot of courage. She knew she deserved an equal education, and she was not going to accept discrimination. Dad pulls out some books. Rosa Parks also left her mark. She sat down at the front of the bus and refused to get up. The color of her skin did not mean that Rosa was going to give in. John Lewis joined a lot of sit-ins. This was one way to protest. He knew that people of color no longer deserved to be oppressed. He marched across the Selma Bridge with Martin Luther King Jr., taking steps to a better future. We've come so far, living the dream with much more to do. Remember, though, Ivory, you're just a kid with lots of power, too. With that power, use your voice to be a part of the movement. Small steps make room for improvement. You'll still need to have fun, play, and run in the sun. Soon you'll see we've already won, shouts Dad. You cannot live in fear because you are as strong as a bear, Dad roars. There are a lot of people in the world that really care. The positives outweigh the negatives, and this may not always feel true. Remember to not let it consume you and do all that you can do. So keep raising your fists as high as you can and as much as you please. Even if people disagree, I'll be next to you right there on one knee.
I love the poetry in that book, too. The message, the poetry. Thank you, Karen. At this time, we collect the offering. With much appreciation for your generosity. Please know that a portion of what we collect is donated to this month's benevolence, which is Habitat for Humanity. Thank you. Thank you for these gifts. Thank you for the gifts. For those of you at home, you can certainly go to the UUFC website and choose the donate button. At this time, we like to share the joys and concerns that our members would like to have announced. The first one was just whispered in my ear, and this is a celebration, Karen, of that book that you just read, because in some places that book would be banned. And so this is another plug for coming to the social action lunch at the end of September.
And I pride myself on
Has a number of banned books in the library here in her office. So thank you so much. To start the sharing of the joys and concerns, I'd like to put this stone in the water. I could not be with you last Sunday, but I streamed the service as Gordon was driving us home from North Carolina. I knew the news about Mel, and I marveled at our minister and how Reverend Holly wove together the water ceremony together with honoring Mel. And it says in our newsletter that we continue to mourn the loss of Mel. We continue to hold Steve in our hearts. And this is for Reverend Holly and for Mel. Andy Nelson shares her joy, the wonderful, energetic, and hopeful speeches at the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. Did you hear Amanda Gorman's poem? Whew. Whew. Paula and Jorge and friends share a joy. There's a gig today from 3 to 5 o'clock in Walhalla at the Trailhead Tavern. Music from every style. Come and join us. Thank you, Paula. Oops. For Andy. For Paula. Catherine Hiebel shares a joy. My sister Emily just started her senior year of college. My brother Joseph is about to begin his first year of college. My parents are about to be empty nesters. Also, my grandmother Martha is turning 90 this week. And I'm I'm moving to Dublin this week to start my master's at Trinity College. So I was thinking happy birthday, but I don't know, there's so much here. Happy birthday, Martha. Safe travels, Catherine. Wow. This is the biggest stone in the basket. And this stone is for all the joys and concerns that remain unshared. We have no children to sing on their way. So let me share this prayer before we have a time of meditation. It's from the Teal book, and it's standing on the side of love. The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide. And so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are standing on the side of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are standing on the side of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are standing on the side of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are standing on the side of love. A bright new day is dawning when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are standing on the side of love, hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are standing on the side of love. This reading from Howard Zinn is called To Be Hopeful. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents. And to live now as we think human beings around us is itself. I'd like to read the middle section once more before we sing. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act. Let's sing. Number 340, Come Sing a Song with Me. Number 346. Thank you. Before we hear from Reverend Jean, Martha, these flowers are lovely. I love having these right here. I have some experience with Reverend Dr. Jean Heriot, and some of you do too, and it was virtual, because a couple of years ago we were fed up with what was happening about reproductive rights, if I may say so. We still are. But a couple of years ago, we decided to get together. Michael Cole brought all these cards. A bunch of us brought cards, you remember? And we sat in the social room, and we wrote to our legislators. And Reverend Dr. Jean Heriot attended virtually. We had her on the screen in the social room, and she guided us. encouraged us, and did what all good social action leaders do to help us know that what we did was important and that it mattered. So there was an announcement that was not in the back of our bulletin today, because October is a long time away, that the first weekend in October, Reverend Dr. Jean Heriot, along with Reverend Nathan Woodruff, will be hosting the second annual SCUJA conference at the Columbia, South Carolina Fellowship. A lot of us attended that last year. We brought our banner, we had a little march, we did lots of good things. So please know that good health allowing, you can meet Reverend Dr. Julia if you so choose to attend the SCUJA Fall Festival. Thank you. So SCUJA is South Carolina Unitarian Universalist Justice Alliance. Reverend Dr. Jean Heriot was a co-founder with that, along with Reverend Pippin. Reverend Dr. Jean Heriot identifies with the she/her pronouns and is a UU community minister and a member of the Aiken, South Carolina UU Church. She co-founded SCUJA with Reverend Dr. Pippin Whitaker in 2021. She currently serves as the Director of Organizing and Training for SCUJA. Prior to moving back to South Carolina, Reverend Heriot taught religion and anthropology in Santa Clara, California, at Santa Clara University, and at Hastings College, Hastings, Nebraska. But she grew up in South Carolina and has an intimate knowledge of the legacy of racism and a theological commitment to transformative change. We miss having her here with us. Please know that she worked hard to make this happen, as did Del Kimbler, our tech guy. So with thanks to both of them, thank you, Usama. We're ready for Rev.
I'm sorry I'm not at Clemson in person. I'd really rather be at Clemson than at home with COVID, but that's the way it goes. I'm here at home. But I'm glad to be able to share a message with you. When I came to Clemson before, and when I helped you folks with writing letters about reproductive rights, Kathy Crain and I talked quite a bit. And when we were talking about this sermon, she suggested the term show up. And she said that that's the message she remembered most from our conversations: show up. And that's what we're going to be talking about today: show up in the sense of thinking about hope. Now, as you know, I work for the South Carolina UU Justice Alliance. I'm the Director of Training and Organizing there. And through that work, I've met many of you through virtual trainings last year at our Fall Festival in Columbia, and when I've preached here before. So I want to give a big plug for the Fall Festival that will be October 5th in Columbia at the UU Congregation of Columbia. It's a Saturday, and we'll have lots of intergenerational things that families and children can do. And we'll also have Justice Alliance work that we can participate in, think about for our church, figure out ways to grow our social justice programs, and just celebrate being together. You know, UUs in our state don't really get together that often. The one that we held in Columbia last year was the first time congregations in our state had gotten together since the civil rights movement. Now think about that, that's a lot of years. And we had a really good time. This year we have speakers from North Carolina and Georgia coming, lots of our South Carolina partner organizations, and hopefully folks from all 10 of our UU churches in South Carolina. It's a great way to connect, be energized, and weave a web of SC justice workers. Newsletters sometime soon, maybe even this week. Again, that's Saturday, October 5th at the UU Congregation of Columbia. So today I'm speaking about hope. And we hope even though we live in uncertain times. We hope even though the news can break our hearts. We have only to look briefly at our devices to see news that bombards us. We hear of a hotter earth, wildfires in the West, wars, genocides, threats to democracy. And it can be very easy to despair. And many of us just want to live in denial. It's not really happening, or I don't need to think about it. And often we want to wish it all away. Just send it out into outer space and just go away. You know that's not true. So today, we want to think about how we can have hope. We wish, we really wish that we could live in a better world. A world where we and our loved ones, including all of humanity, is safe, secure, fed, cared for, and alive with possibility. I like that last one, alive with possibility. So let's take a deeper look at that wish and label it hope. And it's really easy to say we hope, but it's awfully hard to live that hope. Our UU tradition speaks of hope. Hope is elusive, but I believe it starts with the wish, the thought, that possibility that things could be better. Hope rests in our souls, and the deeper it goes, the more we want to bring our visions to life. How? Well, there's a wonderful phrase I recently heard from the author Marianne Kaba. She says, hope is a discipline. And here's a longer quote from her explaining what this means. When I would feel overwhelmed by what was going on in the world, I would just say to myself, hope is a discipline. It's less about how you feel and more about the practice of making a decision every day. A decision that you're going to put one foot in front of the other. It's work to be hopeful. It's not a fuzzy feeling. You have to actually put in energy, time, and you have to be clear-eyed, and you have to hold fast to that vision. It's a hard thing to maintain, but it matters to have it, to believe that it is possible to change the world. End quote. So she's saying hope is a discipline, and it matters whether we hope or not. Hope is a choice, and hope is a practice. We can choose to see, as Howard Zinn suggests, all the times and places where people have behaved magnificently, and this gives us the energy to act. And here's a modern day example of choosing a better path. I expect we've all been following the upcoming elections, and many of us watch the polls nervously. And about a month ago, it looked like we were going to have the 2016 election all over again. Then Biden decided to step down and endorse Harris as his successor. Now, to be clear, we as church congregations cannot take a partisan stand. But we can't say, vote for Harris, vote for Trump. We can't do that. But we can say, vote your values. And it seems to me that Biden's act was an act of living hope. When it can't be me, and I know it, then stepping down makes sense, even if it ends your political career. And how many of us would be willing to relinquish all that power to give hope. That was a choice. We too have choices. Will we embrace this election, flawed as it is, and work hard to bring about our visions for a better world? Will we have the discipline to give hope, life? Will we put our hand over the hands of another together to help birth the wings of hope, as our opening words suggest? Our denomination has a program to help us practice hope. It's called UU the Vote. Begun in 2020 and continued in 2022 and 2024, UU the Vote mobilizes UUs to get out the vote. Again, we can't endorse any candidate, and there are many all the way up and down the ballot. But we can always say, vote your values. Do you have hope for affordable housing, a better educational program, a strong safety net for the poor, the disabled, children? Do you care about the economy, about regulations, about the environment? If you care, you can vote your values, and you can ask others to vote their values. UU the Vote wants everyone eligible to vote to be registered to vote and to vote. That's a tall task. But when we all participate, we all have a voice. Representatives from over 500 churches, and that's half our churches in the US, were on a UU the Vote webinar recently. Half, and that was just one webinar. In our state, I've been working with 7 of our congregations on UU the Vote, including yours. The South Carolina UU Justice Alliance has helped get a grant to cover some of the cost, and it's mostly postage for all those postcards. And the funding came from the UU funding program. Each church has a UU the Vote action team leader, and we meet to share ideas and accomplishments. As of last June, we had written over 5,000 postcards and letters and educated voters on the importance of down ballot voting. We distributed information on the candidates. Some of you here in Clemson signed up to be poll workers, some to be poll watchers. And this is very important in making sure our elections are fair. SPUJA is proud to have partner organizations in this work. We work closely with the NAACP to get out the vote, and they have branch offices in every county in the state. In my home congregation of Aiken, we partner with them to register voters. We also help people check that they are still registered to vote and haven't been dropped from the voter rolls. You know, dropping people from the voter rolls is a tactic, and it's been accelerating the closer we get to the election. And it seems that only certain people, fill in the blank, are dropped from the voter rolls. We also partner with the League of Women Voters, and nearly all UU churches have League members. They are marvelous resources to learn more about the candidates, to register voters, and promote democracy. This is one way our denomination has chosen to choose hope. We've chosen hope and to practice hope. I challenge you to practice hope today. Participate in Clemson's UU the Vote. I believe Holly Ulrich has some door knocker materials to give you today, and take them. Take those door knocks information and talk to somebody. See if they're going to vote. See if they have a plan to vote. Check to see if they're registered and their registration is still there. Write a postcard or a letter. I think it's very interesting that research shows that postcard writing to voters ups voting by about 3%. And do you know how close some of our elections are? 3% 3% makes a difference. Phone banking makes an even bigger difference than does postcarding. And guess what? Knocking on doors and canvassing, actually talking to people, is absolutely the most effective way to bring about a change in a person's willingness to vote. UU The Vote has big plans for these next few months. Actually, it's maybe, 2.5 months? Postcarding is just a start. Canvass, be an election protector, go to a rally, make phone calls. Every little bit helps practice hope. And if election work's not your thing, and it's not for everyone, then do something else. Feed families, help the LGBTQ folks, nurture and raise loving and caring children. Choose hope, practice hope. And every time we are overwhelmed, let us remember that others have felt the same way. And yet, they have found a way to choose hope and practice hope. In our opening words or our reading again, I'm going to quote Howard Zinn as part of our closing. If we only see the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending the spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents. And to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. So, in closing, I ask you to choose hope. And for those of you who watched the Democratic Convention and Michelle's Obama speech, she said something very similar to all of us. Do something. Do something. Practice hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Jean. In our weekly that comes to our emails on Thursdays, there's a blurb in there where you can check your registered, your voting address in case you have recently moved. You can make sure that it's right. And the deadline to vote is the deadline to register to vote is 30 days prior to the election. October 5th then, is that right, Holly?
I was told October 4th.
October 4th? Let's go for October 3rd. So thank you for making sure that you're registered to vote. Let's sing hymn number 168, One More Step.
One
closing words from Reverend Jean.
Our closing words today are from the great Catholic worker, Dorothy Day. These words are on commitment. People say, what is the sense of our one small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast in the pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. No one has a right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's just too much work to do. Thank you.